Yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured,
Okay,
but I
6
just
o'clock.
haven't seen it.
Let's call the meeting to order. As for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Aye. I'm here.
Commissioner Justardens is absent excused, Commissioner Burge,
Here.
Commissioner Prunick,
Here.
Mayor Barry.
Here. All right, item B, public comment, 1 minute limit.
I would like one,
Oh, let's see if the public would like.
whoops, sorry.
Anybody else? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Bob.
anyway, I apologize. We kind of accepted this letter from Kathy Nelson concerning Sean Bosley for doing a really good job on plowing and helping her out. And it really wasn't put into, anybody didn't know anything about it, we just kind of, it was a consent agenda, but I would like to just thank Sean for doing a good job for one of the citizens.
Thank you, Chip. Anybody else? All right. We'll move on to item C. And I'd like to ask for a motion on Mike Grentz's presentation for the 2023-24 audit needs to be tabled until our next meeting. He's unavailable for this meeting, so somebody would make that motion?
I'll make a motion, we table the audit till the next meeting.
I'll support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Prunick to table the Mike Grenz presentation. Any other discussion? Hearing none?
He has committed to next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, just double check.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consent agenda. Anything that needs to be pulled off the consent agenda? Any discussion? None? None?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support?
It's been moved by Commissioner Prunick, seconded by Commissioner Burge to approve the consent agenda. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right,
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, DDA partnership.
We want to
Oh,
do the
I'm sorry,
amending
right,
of
thank
the
you.
agenda.
Commissioner Burge asked if we could add an agenda item. I'm gonna put it as 1A. He is requesting committee reports ongoing. Can you explain?
Yeah, ultimately, last meeting, we had said that we wanted additional information from certain groups, including the planning commission, for either a quarterly or a monthly update that we could include in the consent agenda. But in the process of discussing that, we realized that we needed to make sure that that was voted on first before we could add it to our rules and procedures, to automatically add that to the consent agenda. So I would like to see a report from the planning commission included in our packet every month that says what the planning commission is doing. There's a lot of ongoing projects right now that I think we as a public and elected officials need to know a little bit more of. And putting it as a report will not interfere with the planning commission's ability to do their own thing. So I think the report's the best option.
that report would have to be obviously the first meeting of the month,
That's okay.
because our planning commission meets probably almost always after the second meeting of our commission.
Well, that's fine. I mean, however the schedule comes across, I mean, we don't have to have them all in the second meeting. We can just get them when they come to us.
Yeah.
Are you requesting that the chairman be here, or I'm on the planning commission, I can give the report?
I would like to see a written report, given the circumstances. In all due respect to you, Commissioner Wilkinson,
It's fine.
I don't think it's a good call for the liaison to be giving the report. I think it should be a member of the planning commission to give the report.
Okay.
Are minutes okay?
I'd like to see both, to be completely honest. Until we figure out how this process goes through, we're not gonna know what's relevant until we kind of see it and workshop it a little bit. We can give some extra feedback. The DDA report that we get from Kathy Reynolds is not the way that the DDA minutes always line up. And that, I believe that there should be some level of discretion about figuring out what's the more important stuff, but until we get through it a couple of times, I don't want to set up the planning commission for failure by, not giving them a little bit of, learning curve here.
Do you mean like, minutes and like what happened during said meeting? Like just a breakdown?
Yeah, sometimes, some of the stuff is gonna be pretty, in depth, the planning commission deals with a lot of big reports.
Sure.
And they're gonna be using multiple meetings to get through some of the projects that they're going on. And so they might have a big breakthrough about something that they're gonna be set on for the rest of the time of their process. And they might not come back to it for months or even a year. I've seen in some of the cases with things like master plans or zoning ordinance changes. So, to see that progress as it comes along, being able to add a little bit of, extra faith and support for the planning commission, but also see what the struggle is, If we don't know what they're talking about, then how are members of the public to get involved reasonably and ask, tough questions that might be relevant for how they make decisions? So, I think it's a win for transparency that empowers everybody. So.
I would be comfortable just to start out with just minutes. I think asking for a written report along with minutes.
Does it go on YouTube as well?
That's what was my
It will
that was
be,
my next
yes.
question, is if they're
So it's
available
available
for
to
review,
said-
then I don't think we need to get that far down into the weeds with the planning commission or any other committee. I definitely agree that we need transparency and that it would, I think, work very well for us to be engaged, but I don't need the minutia.
Well, certainly any major
That's
comments or whatever, I would certainly, obviously zoning's gotta come up here, ordinances have to come up here anyway. So, but any major thing that would be going on, along with the minutes.
Mhm.
I mean, if it gets to the point where, we're trying to make decisions and trying to figure out where we're gonna go, of course, I'd rather have the chairman up here and have him give us the full report, but, maybe we can do that on a quarterly or semi-annually, but I agree
don't
with
feel
you
that
right now,
that's-
so.
That's not our job, though, to have huge discussions of the planning commission.
No, it's not, but I think it's our job to know what the planning commission is
Absolutely,
doing.
that's why I think the
Right.
minutes, definitely, and if we want to see more, then
Right.
go out online and look at the recorded meetings.
Administratively, after last meeting, we have been planning on putting minutes in, however, we haven't had a public meeting since the last city commission meeting.
Mhm.
So we have a DDA meeting next Wednesday, we have a public planning commission on the 26th, and then the next one will be the March 5th city commission.
Well, and the only reason why I asked for this to be added was not because of the timing of the other meetings, but because I knew that we could not amend our rules and procedures to include this in the consent agenda unless we figured out what the vote was first. And so that's what happened at the last meeting. We had kind of said that if we wanted those things, we couldn't even demand them out of the, whether we wanted to demand a report or just have city staff included in the packet. We needed to make sure that that was voted on first before we had to change the rules and procedures. It was just due process of how the agenda item was written last time. And I think that this discussion addresses, I would like to see a report just so that way it's more consistent with the other things that we ask. But if that's not the way that we want to see it for right now, we can start off with at least meeting minutes to kind of, get the ball rolling and review it later if
You
need
want
be.
something
Yeah.
broken down within it.
At least let's get it
Clarification
started.
for yourself.
That's the route. Let's get it started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
All right,
We need a motion
Yep.
and support to actually amend the agenda now that we've already talked about it.
I'll make a motion,
I'll second.
all right, well, a little out of order, but motion by Commissioner Wilkinson, second by Commissioner Burge to amend the agenda, adding 1A, request for community reports, to be added to tonight's agenda. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we need a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve the addition of planning commission meeting minutes to the packet, specifically to be filed with the consent agenda at whatever meeting is easiest for the schedule.
I'll support.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Birch, supported by Commissioner Prunick, to add the minutes of the planning commission to the packet to be placed on the consent agenda moving forward. Any more discussion?
Yes. Is that gonna go, then I assume we're going to extend that to all committees then? So whether
It's
it's,
not just planning
whether
commission.
it's executive search, whether it's, whatever, so all those committees that we have are gonna, after their meeting, our next city council, or city commission meeting, will have those minutes.
I agree.
Okay. All right, so you want to amend the agenda to all committees?
Yes.
Okay. All right. No more discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, and I skipped around. Item 1. I'll get this one of these days. Any questions on the DDA partnership updates report given, submitted by Kathy Reynolds? Okay.
Do we need a motion to accept the?
I don't
No,
think so.
No, she just always gives a report. If
Right.
anybody had any questions, not that I don't know,
Do,
answer them.
just to maybe piggyback a little bit on the 1A aspect of it, if she writes a written report, can we just have it included in the consent agenda instead, or do we want to keep breaking it out?
Yeah.
Usually she comes.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
there's some extenuating circumstances
Right,
right
she's
now,
not
and
well.
she will be back,
Yeah.
with us.
I would just as soon have her report as orally too, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on. that we can-
I think
Keep
even,
it.
were you meaning if she's not here?
Yeah, only if she's not here.
Oh.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, this could just be easily packed up as easily
Part of the
as the,
consent.
I mean, because we got a lawyer's report, as
Yeah,
his attorney
then
report
it's
is here. So, I was just thinking for streamlining the consent agenda, but didn't know if we needed a motion or clarification, or if that's just something that can happen, so.
I would prefer to happen.
With,
If she's not here,
Yeah.
just include it in the consent agenda.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend making a motion very similar to the one that was just passed, amending the rules and procedure, or clarifying or amending as needed the rules of procedure that, you know, maybe even all written reports be included in the consent agenda. So if there is an in-person report, that'd be on the agenda as an agenda action item. Written reports just immediately then go to consent.
I think that's a very good idea. So could we just, if you're in favor of that?
I am, I saw a look on your face and I couldn't tell why you were making it, so I just wanted to double check in case you were gonna say something, so.
So would you like to just amend?
Yeah, I can make that amendment of, you know, if there's a written report, it's included in the consent agenda.
You're amending your other motion, you're saying?
That's what I
Well,
was
that's what I'm trying to
asking.
figure out, like, now that we've moved to a different one, is it a separate motion, or is it,
You
yeah?
better
You
have
can't,
it
just
separate?
make sure that your motion supporter agrees with that. That's-
yeah, yeah, I mean, I kinda, yeah, that's fine, yeah. Cause I think, I guess my question is, does the DDA, would that fall under the commission, like, the commission's getting reports anyway? Like,
Would be
yeah,
under the
yeah,
consent
so-
if she's not here, if
If
we're
she's
giving
not
her
here,
a written report. If we know she's not going to be here,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's like this instance. And maybe that'll happen in another few meetings until she's back
Right.
on track.
The way that she described it there at the end, I thought it might be better.
Okay.
Well, since you amended it, you should vote again. then.
Okay.
All
right. So, so we amended the motion to include all reports, all written reports if the entity is not here in person. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Sorry for the clunkiness on that.
We're in another meeting. All right, item 2. Is that- am I right? Yeah, item 2, Federal Loan Bank for Housing. This was something that Commissioner Justardens had requested. With him not being here, I think we need to table that as well, so.
Maybe not. He told me about it, and I looked into it, and I have some
Oh,
paperwork for, apparently People's State Bank was a partner in that at one time. I don't know if they still are or not, that would be something that, I'd have to get ahold of Rick and ask Rick about. But their applications are gonna be starting to be due April 1st, for grants and things for renovations, for demolition, that kind of thing. They cover a whole range of things, but what we're more interested in, is, low interest loans for remodeling and that kind of thing. So I'll have to get with Rick and find out what is going on. Do you know anything more about this?
So I don't, in fact, I emailed Rod last week to try to get more information about what he specifically wanted, A, on the agenda and B, included in the packet. And we had a very quick discussion about the fact that it was a high-level discussion, that it was a federal program that at one point was available to community members. But when I do my research on it, there's many different programs, there's many different arms of the Home Loan Bank Association, and some of it is also very similar to programs currently being offered, and I want to make sure that, that we're not going to be trying to go after funding that Community Action Alger Marquette may already be receiving as part of their winterization or home rehab grants loan program too, so.
Yeah, that's what I got from Rock too. So I did some research, and it's the Federal Home Loan Bank is out of Indianapolis for these programs here, but I'm sure there's more than one around someplace. So that's why I was gonna get a hold of Rick. If you wanna talk to Rick, find out where people stand. Because I think they have to, if they're not involved in it at this point, they have to make application by April 1st. I don't think it's a big deal to make the application. I think you just have to say, yeah, we're signed up here, so.
I also did look for participating banks in our area, and I believe there was 5 from the Upper Peninsula. PSB was not one of them. I believe Marquette and Escanaba both have participating banks though, so.
Yeah, Rod had just told me that he was pretty sure that PSB was involved years ago, so whether they were or not, I don't know.
Is there any other referencing points that we can look to make sure that we're qualifying for these? I mean, it sounds like, because there's a lot of various programs, there's the private side of it with the banks. We can't really have any actionable items on that, but do we have existing policies in place to review how effective we would be or how likely we would to get this style of housing to begin with, or this style of funding to begin with? I mean, you have brought up in the past that certain avenues for finances are not open to us anymore because we've been on the better side.
Correct.
But we also might have some things politically coming down the pipeline that would tear us back the other way that are both local and federal. So I want are we keeping up with this? Is that something that is not enough of a moving target to try to keep up a standard? Or
So like most things, we keep our ear to the ground on what's going on. However, this is one point that the Housing Needs Assessment that the Planning Commission is working on, is not only identifying the metrics and the data, but also providing an updated portfolio of potential funding avenues as well, with pros and cons of each one. And that's just because housing, from a municipal standpoint of a municipality of 1,900 individuals, very rarely does a municipality have the financial or administrative ability to start handling, multi-million-dollar grants and things like that. So we're a little bit interesting in the fact that we are in better shape than most communities, but like you said, at CDBG for housing, very few of the HUD programs we qualify because we're not a low to moderate income community. So that takes a whole, slew of very positive grants off the table for us. But we are, like I said, the Planning Commission is addressing that through the Housing Needs Assessment because things are changing so rapidly. I did send an email out to the full commission 2 weeks ago, kind of outlining some of the programs. But one thing that we did have just this past week is with the changes in the Brownfield Public Act 381, that's now available for housing. We did have our Jeff Hawkins, who's been working with the city for years now. He contacted us and put us in contact with somebody who might
be able to give a webinar that we're trying to work on for the planning commission, the city commission, county representatives as well, kind of as a Alger County as a whole, how can you guys use Public Act 381 Brownfield as a potential avenue? Because it's one of the, I don't want to say easier, because there's nothing easy about brownfields, but it seems to be a little bit more applicable universally across communities. And the way it's functioning between the state and the local level. State funds, you do qualify for some items, however, local funds have a wider berth. But we continue to look at the avenues that we can take, making judgment calls on, do we have the financial or administrative ability to start applying for some of the larger grants? That's where it's gonna be more of a QPAD or a Community Action Elder Marquette, who have, the ability to administer the specialization, but things change, as you said. I mean, brownfield's coming up, that's in late 2003, that changes, something that's, a lot of communities are able to take advantage of. So, there's no good answer to your question.
Any more on the federal loan bank for housing item? Okay, let's move on. Item 3, resolution for approval of MDOT contract number 25-5048, Indian River Bridge Preventative Maintenance Project.
Yes, this is the nitty-gritty contract from the state of Michigan that outlines basically the roles, responsibilities of the state, the local agency being us, and then beyond that, our contractors, which are the only contractor we have is Coleman Engineering, because as outlined in the contract, the state of Michigan, MDOT, actually administers the contracts through local agency programs. And they handle essentially the review of our plans to make sure the plans that we submit, that we have to pay for our engineer to do, meet MDOT spec. And then on top of that, they bid the projects out, sign the contract. So like M28, that was done the same way, where Baco actually had a contract with the state of Michigan. And we had a cost share with the state of Michigan that we paid the state for, basically to do this job. They contracted with Baco to accomplish it. So kind of a formality more than anything contract-wise. It does outline the cost share, so the total projected cost right now is $195,000. Federal funds is $156,000. State local bridge funds $29,000, with a balance of our share at $9,750.
Anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution for approval of MDOT contract number 25-5048.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and supported. It's been moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Burge. Any more discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call, sorry. I saw that.
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Burge,
Yeah.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Mayor Barry.
Aye. Motion carried. All right, item 4, resolution to authorize the city manager to submit an application for waiver to defined benefits pension plan retirement system.
Yeah, so another item that is a derivative of our audit every year, I want to say it was back in 2020 or 2019, the state mandated a new reporting requirement for their local units. It is a report for our liabilities inside of our pension plans, outlines a number of factors, participation, and then also the big component they're looking at is our unfunded accrued liabilities, which is the difference between what our assumed liability to our employees in that plan are and the funds that we have been investing over the years. And with the state legislation, they have it set up where when we make this application, there's 2 metrics they look at, which is our funded percentage. Do you have X amount of your total accrued liability, and that 60% is that threshold. And then the other component they look at is how much of your annual payment is going to that fund for your pension plan. And that's an ADC, I believe, percentage. And if it's over 10%, then that's another trigger. The legislation from the state does not allow flexibility. However, Treasury, who was tasked with implementing this report from the local units of government, allows us to make a waiver and then include the revenue of our water and sewer utility funds, because our water and sewer utility funds carry a couple $1 million of that unfunded accrued liability. And when you incorporate the revenue from those, it puts us under that 10% threshold. So I think we were at 59% and change on the percentage, and then with the waiver application, we'd be under 10. So that would put us in line. I think this is the third year in a row we've had to do the waiver. The state's usually pretty okay with it because we're contributing. We've never missed a payment. We've never had any partial payments. And we closed our defined benefit plan back in July of 2019. So at this point, we're on a 20-year payment plan to fulfill our accrued liabilities.
Anybody have any questions?
Just out of curiosity, has the people that are on the pension plan as employees had any conversation or care about this at all? Is this or is this more of just like the triggers are in effect, so you're just acting on their behalf? Like, how does this relate with the staff?
So this has no impact on the individuals in our plan, because statutorily, we cannot retroactively change benefit plans in the state. What this is just simply a reporting requirement that the state came out with. And I don't know if you guys remember, but about 2 years ago, they came out with a grant program where if you met, less than 60%, on this year's report and this year's report, the difference, you could apply for a grant. We actually had it backwards where we were just over that 60% threshold 1 year and it disqualified us from that grant, but now we're under it because of the assumptions changing. So it has no impact on our current retirees or future retirees that are left in the plan, purely administrative.
Anybody else? Okay, entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to authorize the city manager to submit an application for waivers, defined benefit pension plan.
I'll
retirement
support.
system.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Prunick, supported by Commissioner Wilkinson, to authorize the resolution to authorize the city manager to submit the application for waiver, defined benefit pension plan retirement system. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Burge?
Aye.
Commissioner Prunick? Mayor Barry?
Aye. Motion carried. All right. Item 6, dump truck.
Aye.
Oh. Oh, shoot. Item 5, resolution to amend to city manager Olson's employment contract. So,
Any problems with it? I mean, you obviously wrote it, so.
Well, so actually, Bill wrote it, but only after I met with Jordan and Mayor Barry a couple weeks ago and kind of went over it, provided the draft schedule, and I did provide another copy that's in color. And the proposed schedule keeps me here for all of our city commission meetings, planning commission meetings, DDA meetings, and essentially just gives me a long weekend every other weekend for me to be downstate, help transitioning with the move while still being here an adequate amount of time to keep basically the gears running at the city. And then the final day would be June 16th, which is the second meeting of June. And typically, we have been trying to have our budgets and in CBA years have pretty much our budgets wrapped up with the CBAs included and have any other outstanding items handled by that meeting.
To still be available for
Yep,
a phone call or
Yep, so,
whatever.
so I actually am my wife's actually already setting up kind of a small work from home office for me too. So it would be one of those where there would be transit days here and there, but my truck I've worked out of for the better part of 5 years, so it's my mobile office anyways. But yes, and part of the contract is that I am available all typical working hours, Monday through Friday still.
I make a motion, we approve the resolution to amend Mr. Olson's employment contract.
I'll second.
okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Burke, to amend the city manager Olson's employment contract. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Burge?
Aye.
Commissioner Prunick? Mayor Barry?
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now item 6, dump truck
Should've said
upfitting.
something.
Yes, so the term outfitting is taking essentially a drivetrain frame cab unit and adding the accessories as needed. So when the truck was ordered from International, it's basically drivetrain, frame, and cab. Because they come out of that where you can put box attachments, you can, basically use them how we're going to. There's another contract that the state has through their My Deal program for that upfitting. We worked with our mechanic on getting a quote for the upfitting. It is pre-negotiated with the state of Michigan, so we're getting the state of Michigan rate on this one. It is a 14-yard box and is set to be put on our tri-axle dump truck. That is, by the way, has a build date of the last week of April.
Any idea what the front axle of that truck is rated at?
I would have to go through the documents again. It was, the specs on that truck were, I think, 8 pages long, so.
Should be about 20.
I would think 18 probably. Yeah.
Okay. And do we have to include a price?
We should.
I would think so.
We should.
Okay.
It's at the end, but it's not on the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
So it is a little bit different, so.
Yeah. So the cost is $83,119.
It is.
Any more questions?
Quick question, are we gonna add the $700
That's what I was-
for?
We are not, nope.
Okay.
Okay, so that's not, so that's gone, so, okay.
Yep. So
So the total cost would be 83,118.
I'd entertain a motion if there's no more questions.
I'll make a motion, we accept the International Truck and Trailer Specialties contract,
Do we have to put a
something like that.
dollar amount
Oh,
on
yeah,
it?
with the cost of.
For 82,119.
You can add that to your motion.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'll support.
All right, that's all right. It's been
I was
moved,
waiting for round 2.
it's been moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Prunick to accept the dump truck upfitting bid from,
Truck and trailer specialist.
Truck and Trailer Specialist in the amount of $83,119. We don't need a roll call for that? Okay, all those, any more discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 7, Coleman Engineering invoice for Tourist Park toilet/shower buildings in the amount of $9,352.50.
Yes, invoice from the engineer, you'll notice it is for a subcontractor. They had subcontracted with an architectural firm that we've used extensively in the past. So with us getting to the actual construction phase, they've now completed their subcontract as the architect, and that would be Sanderson Chapsky, and it was Ken Chapsky.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the payment to Coleman Engineering for $9,352.50.
I'll support.
Okay, been moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Bird, to approve the invoice to Coleman Engineering for the Tourist Park toilet shower buildings in the amount of $9,352.50. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, Cross General Contracting pay draw request of $13,622.40.
So same project, Cross did start the actual construction phase of the project in January, essentially starting with the removals of items such as windows and the stall providers, doors that we're replacing, mirrors, things like that. And they are now preparing to start kind of putting things back together. One of the items they are going to be waiting on for better weather is going to be surfaces. new epoxy surfacing throughout. However, they are still ordering items like all of our new ADA equipment and upgrades. So we are on a fairly regular basis getting submittals for those items and reviewing and approving them. So things are moving out there. They also, if you'll notice, they are working out there currently and are keeping the area to the immediate west of the West Bathroom Building open for their access.
I'll make the motion that we approve the pay draw request for $13,622.40.
I will support.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Bird, supported by Commissioner Prunick to pay the invoice to Cross General Contracting in the amount of $13,622.40. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, appoint Commissioner Burge to the Elder County Materials Management Planning Committee. I was originally on this committee. Unfortunately, the meetings just totally conflicted with my schedule. Even if they were Zoom meetings, they were during work hours. So Commissioner Burge has graciously accepted the position
So
for me.
the only hiccup with this is that I took it because I was the alternate, which means that we don't have an alternate either. So we probably should figure that out as well. I don't think it's necessary for this meeting because I can make the next meeting, but at some point we are going to have to get an alternate for this.
When are the meetings?
It's the third Thursday of every month in Escanaba at 3 p.m.
I thought they moved them to quarterly. They didn't,
Well, that's not official yet.
Okay.
So it is currently monthly until we can figure out what the subcommittees of that committee is. And until that gets lined up, then it's gonna be monthly. And I don't get mileage or anything for driving all the way down there, do I?
You get it from us, but double check, 'cause I think QPAD, do they cover mileage anymore for their committees? Okay, but yeah, that would be something that mileage is an allowable expense for.
They don't cover me as board member loans. I don't think they do
And since we have a, simple, not a simple majority, but 2 out of 5 members of the county, I'm okay with carpooling, depending on who it is, if they're willing to carpool. Well, I don't know if they want to be stuck in the car with me, not the other way around. So, that is a self-burn, that is not any kind of commentary on anybody else. Because I know that there is some question about who's going to take on that county role now too, because there might be some change up with that too, so.
So,
We can try to figure it out, but, I don't know if can I make the motion? Is that allowed? Because it's about me?
Because it's a mayoral appointment, yes, the mayor appoints.
so,
Usually appointments are done by the chairperson of the board, so.
So I don't
Up to
even-
you whether you want to vote on it or not.
we don't have to have a
You
motion.
have that authority though.
Okay, I appoint Commissioner Burge to the Elder County Materials Management Planning Committee.
Next one.
Okay, item 10, emergency purchase, the wastewater treatment, what's P, I'm sorry,
Variable frequency drive.
for blower. From Crane Engineering for $16,659.83.
As indicated in my previous city manager's report from the past meeting, it was an unexpected issue that arose when our blower kept tripping. Ron Kleinman, our wastewater supervisor, reviewed the issue, tried to reset it himself with our staff that we have currently, brought in a licensed electrician to review it, and at that point, they were able to determine that it was actually the drive itself. The blower we replaced 2 years ago, however, we used the same drive from the previous blower. So it is an older drive unit, however, it is what provides oxygen to all of the plants. So from the equalization ditches to basically all of the processing we do there, it is dependent on the blowers themselves. So because of the issue that arises from the lack of oxygen and the lack of a blower, I worked with Ron, got Crane Engineering, who does all of our drive units, able to come within, actually last Tuesday, I believe they installed the VFD, so everything's operational again, but Per the charter, I do have to notify and then request that the commission affirm the emergency purchase for that. The budget line item we'll be putting it in, if approved, is our capital improvement sewer treatment. We budgeted $75,000 for that this year. We anticipated having an RAS pump be replaced. With the craziness that we've had in pumps, we assumed 75. Actual cost that we ordered in August was 39,000 and change, so under 40,000. So that left us about 35,000 of that line item, so this would leave us with about 20 plus or minus.
Could you just ask that it is covered by leachate dollars? The original line item was leachate dollar spending, so you could just clarify that.
Okay. There's no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the emergency purchase for the wastewater treatment plant VFD blower for the amount of $16,659.83 from leachate funds.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Prunick, supported by Commissioner Wilkinson to approve the emergency purchase for the wastewater treatment plant's VFD or blower from Green Engineering for $16,659.83. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 11, investment policy.
Yes, housekeeping item for us administratively. The only changes that we're requesting approval from the city commission are gonna be on the second page bottom. The items in italics are the items going through our bank accounts and setting up kind of the methods for us to better protect our funds. We realized that we have nothing that outlines who should and can be on our investment accounts. So we include investment accounts to be anything that pays interest. So your standard savings, standard checking account, all the way to our CDs. So we have nothing that provided any sort of direction. Section 7 is pretty much the language as requested and provided by Attorney Bill Nordine for that, and then previous section 7 was moved to section 8.
Anybody have any questions?
Yes. This also, just because I'm not sure on the timeline of when this was requested, this does satisfy any additional things that might have came up with the ICS stuff that we dealt with at last meeting?
Yes, and that's
Okay.
because part of the motion included the explicit approvals for us three to be put on the account. There's kind of some quasi questions going back to some of our longer term accounts, like even our credit cards at Embers Credit Union, is that the records there, we've had Embers credit cards for decades. However, there's never been any guiding language on who's supposed to be on the accounts for those cards. So it's more so clarifying any confusion that may happen. If there had been in the past, we were pretty good about explicitly addressing it at that time for the single items. But
Okay. Anybody else? Entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to make the suggested changes to the investment policy.
I will support.
Okay, it's moved by Commissioner Birch, supported by Commissioner Prunick to adopt the revisions made to the investment policy. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 12, budget adjustments.
So quarterly budget adjustments, we try to do them on a quarterly basis. This would cover the second quarter of the fiscal year being through June 31st.
Does anybody have questions on any of the adjustments?
What are we adjusting?
It's-
Yeah, I got that. I got this, but you're adjusting all these at this point?
Yes, so we do what we try to do on a quarterly basis is bulk adjustments. And you'll notice we do it by fund, so we have general fund, major streets, local streets, but with
Right.
those, we have certain departments. Items like reallocate assessor services, it's a decrease of 11,200 with an increase of the corresponding amount. Some of it's housekeeping items because we went from employee to contract basis. A lot of it's other things like annual hose testing, from our, it's an increase of $3,500. That was supposed to occur last year, didn't happen, so it was just pushed into this year. So a lot of it's more so housekeeping items than anything. If we have any big items that need to be addressed on a singular basis, even on the revenue side, we typically try to bring those on an individual basis, but the bulk ones have basically day-to-day and immaterial and dollar amounts for the funds in terms of size.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Prunick to approve the budget adjustments. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item F. F one, this one. Public comment. Anybody?
You're the public.
All right. Hearing none. Item G.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, moved by Commissioner
I'm easy with
Wilkinson,
that.
seconded by Commissioner Prunick to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Can you guys take your budget presentation so you don't have to reprint them in color again?
Don't take them?